Okay. Okay. I don't know where everyone is, but I want to be respectful of y'all's time and pour into you as much as possible. So tell me some good news. What have you been doing very intentionally to take your business to the next level, to make progress? Who wants to share? What have you been doing the last couple days? Anything that you did specifically Friday or this weekend that you can look back and say, man, I've been waiting to do that for a while, or gosh, my business feels differently now that blank is done. Who wants to share something?
Hey, Bill, I'll share.
I can always count on you to share, and I am so grateful for that, Markia. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I recently joined a new gym. Been going at 5:30 every morning, and they had a boot camp, and it's right here in Tucker where I stay at. And so on Saturday I met with the owner. I just set some time aside and asked, can I talk with him in regards to some marketing ideas? And he was sitting there with the person who's directing Tucker Day, and it's in September. And so I got to talking with them, and it helped me come up with a couple of strategies for marketing inside the gym. And he pretty much gave me the link to sign up for Tucker Day as a stand to be a real estate agent. And it's going to be in September, so give me plenty of time. So it was actually good networking, and I look forward to it.
Beautiful. So the gym is going to, like, they have some type of initiative where their members that are business owners or whatever get some exposure. Is that what's going on?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna get exposure at the gym. He told me to maybe get some water bottles just for the gym. But Tucker Day, that's going to be in September. That's going to just be for the whole area, and it's going to be like a sign-up sheet and sponsors and everything. So it was actually two different marketing or opportunities.
That is awesome. Who else wants to share?
I can share. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Go ahead.
Well, I'm actually on vacation right now. I'm at the beach down in Florida, but like it's a big family reunion trip. And so there's people, family that I haven't seen probably since last year. And most of them don't know that I've gone into real estate. And most of them don't live in Georgia, but they live all around in surrounding states. And so it's been a great opportunity just to talk to the family and to like explain how like they can still help me. You know, you can still refer business, you can still, and a lot of these people know, oh, such and such, I know so and so that just moved to Atlanta. Like they know people who are moving there, or I said if you need help, so it was good way. It's been nice to talk to everyone about just look, you can still work on this, and you can still be part of this business, and just to connect with family in a different kind of way that I haven't in a while. So
I love that, and make sure you're framing it in a way of, here's how I can help you, even if you live in Birmingham or Nashville or Chicago or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I talked to another friend who lives here, and well, she grew up here, like we were friends in high school, but she lives in New York. But she's like, she lives in Manhattan. A lot of her friends are moving out to the Berkshires just because there's that big exodus.
Yeah.
And she's like, she doesn't have an agent there. Well, I'm like, well, I can. Are you sure? Because I can help find her one. She's like, well, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We say if a prospect is left to their own devices, the likelihood of them picking a mediocre agent is very high, right? So that's the case locally. And of course, that's the case elsewhere too. So if left to your friend's own devices, they will come across most likely a mediocre agent. And therefore, they'll be lucky to have a mediocre experience. And therefore, what we want to do is get them into relationship with the strongest agent possible. And even better, if we can be compensated to do so. So great job. Great, really great job. Enjoy your vacation now. Okay, who else? Let's do one more share. And then I got a couple ideas and quotes I want to review with you guys. And then I want to talk about asking great questions. Who else wants to share an awesome experience from the last couple of days of their business? Who else has taken a significant step forward in the last few days? Okay, is it that you haven't taken a significant step forward, or you're apprehensive to share, or what? I'm
I'll
feeling a
share.
little blunt today, so it's probably time to wake up every day and say, what is the significant step I'm going to take today to take my business to the next level, and then go do it. So is it that we're not taking any steps, or we don't know what steps to take, or we just don't want to share?
I have something to share.
All right.
So my son had a swim meet this weekend, and it was the first time that they were allowing parents inside. So I had met like this couple, the first swim meet that we did with him here when we moved down here back in October, and I haven't seen this couple like since then. And because it's usually, my kids are older, so it's just a drop off thing at practice. And so I saw them and I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And they ended up sitting like right next to us for both Saturday and Sunday. And we were able to, reconnect and make that relationship. And when I first talked to them in October, I was just starting to think and like start whether I want to go into real estate, just starting to study. And so now it's like, oh, I let them know, like that, that now I started my business, and just start that conversation. They were looking at houses like on the lake, and they're like, oh yeah, that's something, maybe later on down the road, but nothing, the kids like it in the neighborhood right now. And they don't want to change the kids from their school districts and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But, let me know if you have any friends or, just friends or family that are looking. So, just making that reconnection, because I haven't seen them since October. So
love it. Don't be afraid to also suggest that they call you if they have questions, right? Yep. And you can, like Aubrey says a line that I like a lot of, pretty often. He says, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. And so if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, then please let's talk, right? And what that's saying to the listener is, it in a way, it's almost scaring them into not making decisions without your consult, because they're having they might not be able to identify the difference between information and misinformation. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's not just about like, have your friend call me or you call me when you want to buy something or sell something, because if that was the case, you only talk to them every 10 years or so, right? You want to some FaceTime anytime they have any questions whatsoever, right? Yeah. Because again, left to their own devices, picking a plumber, they're going to pick a crappy plumber. Left to their own devices, picking a roofer, they're going to pick a crappy roofer. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Great job. All right, I want to read you guys a quote that I just came across yesterday, and I'm going to ask you to give me your take on this. Okay, this is probably going to sting some people. Okay, it says average players want to be left alone, good players want to be coached, and great players want to be told the truth. What does that mean to you?
That in order to be the best, you gotta take correction.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Who else?
That you have to be held accountable, that you want and welcome accountability.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick apart your words for 1 second, Donna, which is, you don't have to, right? You choose to. You started a business and you're sitting here and you got your license, you got a brokerage, and you're trying to figure out what to do today, and no one's forcing you to do anything. This is a very easy, low-paying job, right? You don't actually have to do anything. Okay. If you want to take your business to the next level, you have to have intentionality around it, right? We've heard the quote, if you want to have a different life, you're going to have to do something different, right? If you want your life to look differently, you got to behave differently, right? Has anyone figured out how to do it otherwise? No? Good, because that could be a pretty quick call, actually.
One of the things that strikes me about that, especially the being told the truth, is that it assumes that or implies that the first two choices, there's a little bit of acceptance of being told what you want to hear.
Ooh,
Being told
really
the
good.
truth is, you know, I mean, if that's, you know, that's a level of accountability and that, you know, a lot of people aren't ready for. And I think it's so much, you know, that's the key to it all right there. I mean, you're lying to yourself if you're not willing to accept the truth about, you know, your current situation.
Okay.
I agree.
Who was that?
Markia.
Yeah, Markia, please go ahead.
No, I was saying that I agree. More than anything, I think that you have to be willing to know that you don't know it all and always have room for growth in order to kind of be told the truth. You just have to know that you don't know it all.
Yeah, I really like what both you and Michael just said, which is there is, you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you are comfortable not knowing what you don't know, then you're not going to make a whole lot of progress, right? If you walk in the building and you say, hey, I'm perhaps not the smartest person here, and you know what, I just don't really want to waste time, and I want results and I want them fast, right? Then you got to go find out what those people that have results are doing. And what you'll find most likely is they almost have an obsession with learning, right? I got a subscription to master classes. Anyone listen? Does anyone know what that is? It's pretty cool, actually. I think the deal's going on right now where you can buy one and get a whole subscription for free, give it away as a gift or something.
Wow.
Maybe that'll be a prize for one of the what do you call it, contests this month. Who knows? You might have to add some more people to your pipeline to find out, right? So one thing that I've been learning, and you almost hear this in I've listened to like 5 or 6 different you know, masters, if you will, right? And they all say the same thing, which is you have to have almost an obsession with learning your craft. Learning your craft. I was in the grocery store yesterday, okay, and I passed by the guy that was stocking the shelves, and he was on the telephone telling one of his buddies that he wasn't spending time mastering his craft. This is somebody who I'm probably towing the line here, but even the guy that was stocking shelves at the grocery store is talking about mastering his craft. Does that make sense? So what are you going to do today? What are you committed to doing this week to mastering your craft, right? Is it nailing that presentation? Is it coming up with a system to track your results? Is it asking somebody for accountability? I just got a message from somebody in the room today saying, hold me accountable to 100 contacts. Believe me, I will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was so funny, Phil, that you said that. I was listening, I think it was Tyler Perry, and he was talking about the exact same thing. He was saying that you need to find that one thing and just focus on it. That's how he became successful. He found that one thing that he wanted, because he said he was kind of scattered all over the place for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then he found that one thing and then focused on it. And it's so funny you said that, because I was saying the same thing to myself now that I'm back in productivity.
Yeah.
To concentrate on the one thing as opposed to 10,000.
Right.
So.
And the truth is we don't actually, you may not know what it is at this moment. And that's why you got to say, hey, maybe my one thing is open houses. Let me give it my all for a little while and see if I'm having fun. Maybe my one thing is calling expired listings. Maybe it's not. Well, you're not going to find out by reading a book. You're going to find out by doing it. Does that make sense? You can't get, I tried this. I really, really tried. You can't get muscles by reading a book about getting muscles. You have to do it. Michael, I appreciate you laughing at my jokes. I'm just going to assume that everyone that doesn't have their video on is also laughing. Is that a good assumption?
Absolutely. Totally laughing.
Totally.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. I want to show you one other model. This is the first time I've seen this model in any of the Keller Williams trainings that I've been a part of. I'm pretty sure it's a new one. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
What's that say?
Comfort zone.
What's
Comfort
that say?
zone. Comfort zone.
Called the comfort zone model. Okay, so let's just assume that all of us are right here. Okay, we are kind of right in the middle of our comfort zone, and you basically have, there's only two directions you can go, right? You can either go towards growth or you can go towards decay. Okay, and the interesting thing is if you go through growth, if you want to go the growth way, you're going to experience some discomfort en route to the comfort. If you want to go the opposite way, and I'm assuming that not many people make an intentional decision to go the opposite way, they just choose not to make the intentional decision to go the growth way, right? But if you're going to go the other way, then you have a good bit of comfort until you have like that discomfort, right? It's comfortable not to make calls until I'm not sure how I'm going to buy groceries. It makes sense? So we have a choice, guys. We have a choice. We can either have a very clear discussion on, are we doing what we need to do or are we not? Make sense? So it's the 21st of the month. So we have, and it's the third week of the month, the last week of the month. And I want you to look over your numbers so far and say, am I on track? Right? We have several people on this call that have like tripled their goals for the month, right? And we have also some people on this call that have not, right? So I want you to ask yourself, are these goals? Are you putting them up there to keep me happy? Or are you putting them up there because once they're achieved, your family gets to do something that it doesn't currently have the ability to do? Make sense? And the next question is remember, when you have a goal and if you might be off track, there's basically two ways to address being off track, right? Can anyone tell me what those are?
You can adjust your goals or you can adjust your actions.
Oof, Donna. Man, that's perfect. You can either adjust your goals, say, hey, my goal is to have 4 appointments this month, but it looks like I'll only have 1. I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles. Or you could say, I've got 1 week to go find 3 appointments. So I'm going to be doing things that I don't usually do so that I can make certain that those appointments happen, because I know there's a correlation between those appointments and how many times I get to sit at the closing table. Make sense? All right, beautiful. Anyone want to share any thoughts? Everyone's still alive after a little bit of a lecture?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be brutally honest. It's just I'm tired of hearing no. Like you just hear so many no's in this business, and I'm starting to cringe at the word no. Like I'm tired of it. You know, I know that's something I got to get over being a rookie, but it's does that make sense?
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. That is you're not alone. You're not alone at all. Here's the thing is, you know, I've been in classes where instead of counting the yeses, if you will, you count the no's, right? You say, hey, I'm going to get a bunch of no's today, and I'm going to call 100 people, and 95 of them are going to say no. But if the 5 say yes, then I just added 100 grand to my pipeline, right? So when somebody says no, remember that it's not a critique on your like professionalism or your experience or the type of person you are or what you represent or any of that. It's just that that person was not interested in having that conversation at that moment. Does that make sense? You might have caught them in the middle of something. They might have just bought, just sold. They might be busy. Somebody might, you know, they might have some type of, tragedy in their world. It just might not be the right time. Don't take a no, Larry, as, hey, I'm a bad agent, or I shouldn't have made this call, or, you know, maybe I should have said it differently. The fact of the matter is you're going to have a lot of no's. There's no way around that. But I will tell you, and I lean more towards the entrepreneur. So I'm not trying to offend anyone here. Okay. but you have a choice. Okay. You can go back and get a job. You got to ask yourself, is that what I really want though? Right? Who's in control when if I were to say, I can't handle all these no's, I'm going to go do something different. Right? And you'll sit behind a desk and you'll get whatever they give you. Right? And the other option is to say, hey, I know that I'm going to get rejected a bunch. That's part of growing a business. And I'm looking for the people who respect me and respect the value that I'm trying to transfer. And those that don't want it, don't get it. And that gives me more energy and more kind of excitement to give to the people who are interested in receiving it. Does that make sense? Hang in
Yes,
there,
sir.
man. We all get rejected.
Yeah, you're not alone, Larry.
You're one win away from a totally different attitude. Maybe we can get it today. Make sense? All right.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for sharing, though. I mean, part of, like we said before, great players want to be told the truth, right? Just tell me the truth. An average player may not have opened their mouth. See what I'm saying? So hats off to you, okay? All right. Let's talk for a second about asking great questions, okay? Now, one thing that I want to make sure you guys understand is that the vast majority of the time that we are interacting with people, we have a choice of whether we are in control of that conversation or whether it's just completely kind of happenstance, right? So I'm going to encourage you to start looking at all of your interactions with people with a little bit more intentionality, okay? Now, I'm going to send, I found, I shouldn't say I found, but I've got like 7 or 8 different kind of packets, if you will, and I'll share them all in the group a little bit later, so you don't have to scribble down every single one of these questions. But I want to give you a little bit of philosophy behind asking great questions, and I want to give you some examples of them, okay? But asking great questions, there's really 2 things that are happening here. One is you're taking control of the conversation. You're leading it where it needs to go. Now, taking control, who has control in the conversation has got nothing to do with who talks more. Okay. In fact, you want them to talk more, a lot more. And then you ask another question to lead it to where you need it to go. And then you listen to what they have to say. Because the more they talk, the more you'll learn how to serve them. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some characteristics of powerful questions, okay? Number 1, they're open-ended, right? Number 2, they're thought-provoking. Number 3, clarity-seeking. Number 4, solution-oriented, okay? They begin with words like how, where, tell me, what, who, say more, when, if, okay? There are a couple of exceptions to this, but it is usually the word you do not want to be asking questions, or I'm sorry, usually the word that you do not want to start a question with is why. Okay. Why did you paint the room that color? Why did you decide to put a fence in your yard? Why did you rip out all those trees and put pine straw down? How do you feel? You're like, because I felt like it. It's my house, right? Immediately, there's tension. That makes sense? Because the listener feels like they have to defend themselves. That is not rapport building. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your decision to put a pool in the yard. That opens the door for them to talk about the experiences that the pool has given their family. Does that make sense? And immediately you have rapport. See what I'm saying? Okay. So here's a couple of powerful questions, okay? To gain control. Man, I'm just gonna run through them really fast, okay? Do you live in the area? Some of these would be like a good location for a lot of these questions could be at an open house. But another good place could be at the coffee shop or the grocery store or the kids' swim meet or whatever, right? You live in the area? How long have you lived here? Do you own your home or are you renting, right? Would it be necessary for you to sell your home before you buy one? You know, how much do you feel you'll realize from the sale of your house, right? How many are in your family, right? That is a super delicate topic right now, especially, right? Don't assume they got a wife if they're a man. Don't assume they got a husband or a husband if they're a woman, right? Ask very generalized questions. How many are in your family? See what I'm saying? And then you can find out like how many kids they have, for example. How old are your kids, right? How soon are you thinking about making the move when we find you the right home? Now, what is that doing? That's assuming that you're going to be in the project, right? That you're a teammate. It's assumptive language, okay? A lot of this stuff, by the way, doesn't come naturally, you guys. This comes from practice and research and more practice and more practice. So again, are you committed? And at what level are you committed to becoming a master at what you do? Make sense? Okay. Where do you live, or where are you employed, right? How long have you been employed there? What is your position? You know, would you describe your present home for me? What do you like best about your home, right? If we found the perfect home today, would you be in a position to move forward, right? So you're connecting the finding the home with the moving forward, okay? Those are questions that you use to gain control, okay? So you are changing the topic essentially, or you are determining the topic and you're letting them talk about themselves, which is what most people want to do anyway, okay? Here's a couple of qualifying questions. Are you paying cash or will you be obtaining financing? I love that question. Are you paying cash or will you be obtaining financing, right? Because if I'm a cash buyer and the agent assumes that I'm getting a loan, that like bursts my bubble a little bit, right? But if I'm getting a loan and the agent says, will you be paying cash or will you be obtaining a loan? It's like, ooh, this guy thinks I could maybe afford this place with cash. You see what I'm saying? So we always want to look for these nuanced ways of making the listener feel good, right? People want to feel good and be right. So don't fight them on every little thing. Just say, oh, how exciting. Sounds like we should meet. Make sense? By the way, we haven't talked about that in a long time in here, but that's probably one of my favorite scripts of all times. You guys want to hear it? That's awesome. Sounds like we should meet. How interesting. Sounds like we should meet. How awful. Sounds like we should meet. It sounds like we should meet. You see what I'm saying? The purpose of the phone is to get an appointment. Make sense? Or to get data, right? To get data. So you're always listening for things like, oh, my daughter, Sarah. Oh, Sarah's the name of her daughter, right? She's going to Georgia Tech and she's studying biology. Ooh, studying biology at Georgia Tech, right? We just got back from our mountain house in Ellijay. Ooh, mountain house in Ellijay. Next time you're in Ellijay, you say, hey, I was thinking about you. What part of Ellijay do you live in? They're like, wow, this guy was really listening. See what I'm saying? We are in the data collection business, okay? Because that's what smart companies are doing right now. You think Google's in the data collection business? Facebook, Netflix, Airbnb, Peloton, they're all in the data collection business. Do you know why? So they can serve the customer specifically to the way they want to be served. So if you're not in the data collection business, it's just a total crapshoot. You don't know how you're serving your person or whether you're serving them the way they want to be served or not, right? Here's another couple of questions, okay? Do you have to sell your existing home before buying your next? And then they say yes. And they say yes as if they're like resigned to this horrible situation, to which you can pull out the tool from your tool belt to explain how it doesn't have to be that way through Keller Offers or Knock or Homeward or any of those kind of things, right? Have you seen anything you liked? Or how long have you been looking for a home? Have you seen anything you liked? If yes, what prevented you from buying? Oh, my credit's not where it needs to be. Oh, great. Do you have somebody helping you with that? Would you be interested in, an introduction of somebody that might be able to give you some pointers? No cost, no obligation, no fee. Boom, right now you just figured out what is their biggest obstacle to moving, and you've helped them all within 5 seconds. Does that make sense? Okay. Tell me about the home that you will buy, right? I assume you're calling me directly because you're not working with an agent. Is that correct? So I want my motivation to match your motivation. Does that make sense? So I know how best to follow up with you. Tell me, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 meaning you must purchase a home today, and 1 meaning you're just curious, how would you rate yourself? And when they tell you, listen, right? You guys ever heard the line? When somebody's trying to tell you the type of person they are, you should listen. Okay? It's not always positive. Okay? If the prospect is vague, ask 3 more questions to get clarity. So for example, I'd like a big yard. Well, if I grew up in Manhattan, a yard the size of my office would be big. But if I grew up on a farm, that's not a big yard. You see what I'm saying? So what does a big yard mean to you? Right? Big yards mean a lot of different things to different people. What does it mean to you? Make sense? So is it privacy that you're after, or do you need a large lot for the children or pets or something like that? So what I think I hear you saying is that privacy is most important to you. So if I found you a home that backs up to an open space, would that work? Right? Right? Or if we found the perfect home with all the other criteria that you've discussed, yet it doesn't have a very large yard, would you consider buying it, or is that a deal breaker? Because if it's a deal breaker, I'm wasting my time and your time, by the way, by dragging you to it, because you ain't gonna buy it anyway. Make sense? Okay. Remember, another good structure for conversations is the Ford model. Okay, we talked about the Ford model quite a bit in bold. Okay, or we're about to start. The Ford model is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Okay, these questions work well because they stimulate the reticular activating system called the RAS. Does anyone know what the RAS is? This is a psychology term. Remember how I told you guys the other day, I could teach you how to sell real estate in like a week. Everything else is the psychology of dealing with humans. Okay, once you know how to do an offer, you know how to do an offer, right? The rest of it is interacting with human beings. Okay, so the RAS is this part of your brain that, let's say you are about to get a new car. Let's say you're gonna you wanna get a red car, okay? When you're driving down the road, all you see is red cars, right? Because that's what your brain is focused on, right? So the RAS works as a filter, screening out information that is not valuable, not of value to you right now, and letting through anything that is important. When you ask somebody to focus on a goal or an image, the person puts themselves in that place mentally. Awareness around this goal or image is heightened, and the RAS lets in more information around that topic. Once you get them thinking, they may suddenly remember someone who has a need to move. The questions work by planting a seed, right? That's why, like, I used to be taught in referral groups, you wouldn't stand up and say, hey, introduce me to anyone that wants to buy a home or sell a home. That's not specific enough. It doesn't put the brain to work. But if I stand up and I say, I'm looking for a referral or an introduction to a person that just got married or just had a baby or just went through a divorce, right? Somebody that's experiencing a big life change, because they probably have some real estate questions with respect to that. And I'd love an opportunity to help them, right? Then they go straight to the person that just got divorced that they're friendly with, right? Or they go straight to the person, oh yeah, I saw 2 days ago, my friend's daughter just had a baby or just got married or something like that. And they say, oh, I'll introduce you to her, right? But if you ask for stuff in a vague way, you'll be lucky to get a vague response. If you ask for very specific things, you'll get very specific introductions. Which, by the way, another thing you could be doing is asking your people about what's going on in their world. Let's say that they work for a business where they hire people, right? I have my brother-in-law, or not brother-in-law, cousin's husband, is like a big HR guy with like children's, like what do you call it? Children's CHOA, right? Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
Healthcare of Atlanta.
I literally get pinged like once a week saying, "Hey, can you introduce me to your friend? I see he's the HR director at this CHOA or whatever." Right? That is a popular man. That is a person of influence. How many people of influence do you have in your world? And have you ever thought about that? Do you have any intentionality around getting into relationship with people of influence? Make sense? Wouldn't it be easy if you had 20, 25 people in your world that like just simply sent you a piece of business every year, an introduction, and you never have to pick up the phone again? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it sure would.
Okay, so how many do you have today? You don't have to answer out loud, but ask yourself, hey, could I find one of those people before the end of the month? Would my life look a little different? Would my business look a little different if I had a couple of those people in my world right now?
Yes, because then the calls would make you instead of you making the calls.
I've never heard anyone say it exactly that way. The calls will make you. What does that mean?
It means that your phone would be ringing so much that the calls would be incoming instead of outgoing for business.
Yeah, I was like looking a little deeper than that, like saying like the calls make me, oh my gosh, I got to think about that a little bit. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's so true. That is for those that have been in the business a little while, like, Markia and Alicia, like you guys have gotten calls that are like, hey, come list me. I'm ready to buy a home. You're my guy. Isn't that just like the coolest thing in the world? Okay. And then somebody dares to say, oh, you got lucky. No, no, no. You did not get lucky. You earned it, right? You earned it because you were a good friend or a good associate or a good, you showed the world that you're honest and hardworking and a master of your craft. You're always learning, right? When was the last time you posted a Facebook message about how you were in class learning about how to be a better agent? Do you think that would be impressive to people? I do. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so let's do some questions, some examples of questions around family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Okay, family. Are you married? How are your parents? Is there anyone else in your family moving soon? How is the family? Have you thought about when child's name goes away to school? Will you stay in the area? Right? Not will you sell your house and hire me, but do you think you'll be staying in the area? Right? Have you thought about starting a family? And that's a really sensitive one. I probably would not ask that question. Right? You never know if people are undergoing, fertility problems or any of these kind of things. Like that is a real sensitive one. I would stay away from that. Okay. How old are your kids? Do your parents need a vacation home? What schools do your kids attend? How do you like the schools in your area? Do you have other family that lives around you? Right? Are your kids doing anything fun for the summer? These kind of things. Occupation. How are things at work? How long have you worked there? How's the market? What did you do before you worked there? Were you transferred out? Were you transferred here? How much time are you putting in there lately? Right? Are you working from home? Like you can kind of tweak it for COVID. Are you going back to the office? Right? Are you busy at work? How's business? What do you do exactly? Anyone at work leaving the company? Are you hiring anyone right now? Does the company have any plans to expand? Have you heard of any companies moving into or out of the area? Do you have any clients relocating? Remember, if you're on the phone with a business owner, first of all, they know they should be lead generating, and if they're not, they're impressed by the people who are. Okay, so if you were to say to them, "Hey, Michael, I understand that you also have a business, or let's say you have a business being, doing the, photo editing work or whatever, right?" And say, "Hey, tell me, I'm on the phone all day working with, people in our community about buying and selling. And, there's a good chance I'm going to come across your ideal client today, right? In all of my conversations. So let me ask you, Michael, how would I identify, like, tell me a little bit about your ideal client. And if I stumble upon that person, how would you like me to introduce you to them? Is text better? Phone call, email, WhatsApp, carrier pigeon? How would you like the introduction? Right? Okay, recreation. What do you guys do for fun? Right? What's your favorite restaurant? Do you belong to a health club or country club or something like that? Right? When was your last vacation? What did you do this weekend? Do you guys have any vacation plans set for this year? How was your last trip? What kind of activities do your kids do? Again, you're just like, there's no secret formula. I'm just teaching you how to be a curious person. Does that make sense? Okay, dreams. Hey, when do you plan on retiring? Where are your kids going to college? What do you want to be doing in 5 years or 10 years? Have you ever considered investing in real estate? Right? How do you plan on obtaining financial freedom? What would you do if you won the lottery? I like that one. If you could live anywhere, where would it be? Right? If you could have any dream job, what would it be? Right? What are your dreams for your kids? That's a really good one, actually. What would happen if you asked that question to a family and the child or the listener said, "Oh, my daughter has been talking a lot about being, an architect," and you say to yourself, I know an architect, right? And you call the architect and say, "Hey, would you be open to, a high school girl coming in and shadowing you for the day? She's off for the summer. She's got this passion and curiosity about being an architect. Would you be open to that?" Most people would say yes to that. And now you've given, you can create an experience, right? People want experience. You can create an experience for this prospect or client's family member, right? Do you think that'd be pretty cool? Do you think they'd remember that? They'd probably go straight to their Rolodex and delete all the other realtors in there, because they're like, "Oh, the realtor I've ever talked to did that kind of thing for me or for my daughter," right? You think that's a nice surprise and delight? So the biggest question here is, some of these, like when I was TL and even before then, when I was doing a lot of recruiting, we have scripts just like we teach you guys, but some of these questions are really deep, right? I can't even count how many people break down in my office and get emotional because no one's ever asked them these questions, right? Not even their spouse or their mother, right, has ever asked them some of these questions, right? And the second you can penetrate that kind of hard shell, you've got the rapport built forever, most likely. Does it make sense? So the question is not how, there's two questions. One is, how many connections can you build? How many relationships can you build? But even more important than that is, how deep can you get with those people, right? Like, what if, I remember Mo Anderson, I was in a class with her like probably 10 years ago. Mo was right after Gary, the CEO of KW back in the early 90s. And she said, instead of having a database of like 2,000 people, what if you had a database of 30 people? And you knew their cats' names, like you knew everything about them. And they sent you one piece of business a year. You'd never have to call a stranger again. Right? So like, building a big business doesn't mean you have to put on a headset and call a bunch of strangers. It just simply means you have to be intentional with contributing to other people wherever you happen to come across them, right? So if you love playing tennis, then memorize a bunch of questions that you would ask your tennis partners when you're playing tennis. Make sense? If you love playing golf, you think there's people that are playing golf all day long that sell more homes than us? Yeah, there really are. Okay, that's their form of lead gen. So I don't want you to get into this business and say, "Oh, well, I'm afraid of cold calling." That's a whole different topic altogether, right? But let's figure out what it is you like doing. Let's go have some fun, right? And then let's be intentional, right? All right, what did you guys hear today? Was this helpful? Did tell me what's on your mind?
Yeah, I think it was helpful that the asking questions, the memorizing them to the point where they just flow easy like conversation, and where you're not interrogating people. You're just making it feel like a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a big nuance there, is that you're not interrogating people. You're simply you're simply asking questions, right? You're simply being curious. All right, I want to point out a couple of things for you guys. First of all, yesterday was the end of week 3 according to our reporting. So please take a moment and put in your numbers, whether they're good or bad, and let's look at them and say, I have an intention to be better this week. Okay, I have an intention to be better. The next thing I want to do is I just want to bring attention to another call that I don't talk about too much. I'm going to put it in the announcements page right now, which is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 10:30. Robert Doyle, who's the Director of Career Development for GLG, runs an accountability call. And the call is really designed for really 2 things. One is you go around the room and you say, in the last 48 hours, what activities did I do to generate a client? And what do I intend to do over the next 48 hours to generate a client? It's focused strictly on activities, action, okay? And number one, it's good to have people that you are now accountable to, right? And it gives you a bunch of ideas, right? So let's say I'm in the room with Caroline and Heather and Ryan and Donna, and Donna's like, oh, I did this flyer thing. And Ryan's like, oh, I made a call and I said this script. And you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these great ideas, right? So I just posted the link. That's from 10 to 10:30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing listing presentation. And Thursday, we're going to be doing buyer presentation. And then Wednesday and Friday, we're going to do role play. So we're going to do the presentation, and then we're going to practice the presentation, okay? And then I just want to draw your attention to one other thing, which as you know, we're just always trying to, deliver the strongest value to you guys. And it appears like we have some challenges sometimes with resources. So I want to encourage everyone. We send out a weekly email. There's a daily office newsletter that goes out that has vendors and alliance partners and vendor partners and all that stuff that are available. Don't forget, we have 3 mentors in the office too: Susan Corley, Pam Slager, and Kathy Ray. If you have any questions at any time, don't hesitate to call them. We pay them specifically to be available to you, okay? And then Candace and I are gonna be holding office hours this week. Mine is gonna be Thursday from 12:30 to 1:30. And where are Candace's? Candace's are, hang on 2 seconds. Come on. Well, it's on the email that I sent out. If you guys can give me 3 seconds, I will tell you. Candace's are 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself one question as you're leaving, which is, am I on track? Am I on track for the end of the second quarter? Many of us had pretty steep goals at the beginning of the second quarter. Well, we got a week left. How you doing? Okay, and how committed are you to being intentional with your behavior today? Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you as always. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Bill.